Welcome to episode number 272 of the Beyond Social Media Show. This is the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. You can find us just by searching Beyond Social Media Show. You'll find our website, all our social channels, where to subscribe to the podcast there. We are recording live on YouTube on June 14, 2019. Topics this week include State of the Internet, Radio Hacked, Zuckerface, Data Studio 101, Pot Accessories, Salad Frosting, VW's Cleanup, Thumbjacking, Text Neck, Defining Hate, Lead Depressors, and much, much more. BL kicks it off with the best story of the week. BL, we both have the best story of the week. You have the honors. Take it away.
Well, this is the week for geeks, geeks and data nerds, because every year at this time, Mary Meeker, aka Queen of the Internet, comes out with her annual State of the Internet Trends report. And it's the most highly anticipated Silicon Valley report, and one that's really watched very closely by tech investors. So she did this at the Code conference and last week, and she is now a general partner in Bond Capital, and she delivered 333 slide presentation that looked back at every important internet event and then trend for last year and this year, and she's telling us what to expect in the year ahead. And I mean, it's exhausting, and we may have just picked out different things. I'm not quite sure, but it's always a fascinating report. It touches on everything from accelerating the speed of the internet and ad spend to the growth of digital delivery services in Latin America. So what I thought was interesting was 7 out of 10 of the world's most valuable companies by market cap are now tech companies, with only Berkshire Hathaway, Visa, and Johnson & Johnson in the top 10 as non-tech companies. And I'm pretty sure that's the first time. Of the 25 most valuable tech companies, 60% were founded by first or second generation immigrants. They employed 1.9 million people last year, and now stricter immigration laws could negatively impact our next Elon Musk from getting to the US. You're going to expect to see more options to make online communications more safe in the wake of all these privacy brouhaha that's been going on. In Q1, this I was really surprised about. 87% of global web traffic was encrypted, up from 53% 3 years ago. And she says, and of course this is true, the internet will become more of a cesspool because getting rid of problematic content becomes a bigger problem as there's more of it. And given that there's more of it every 5 minutes, it's going to be more amplified than it ever was. And so this is really difficult. And 42% of US teens have experienced offensive name calling online. Terrorists are being radicalized on sites like YouTube, and social media is encouraging political polarization. So I'm not quite sure what the good news was there. Do you have some?
I do. I'll cover the good news, BL. You should have put this in bad. So, yeah, I picked out 3 themes from her report that are kind of interesting to me, and I've been kind of talking about them as well for the past 2, 3, 4, or 5 years or whatever. First of which is e-learning. And so just some stats from her report about e-learning. The percentage of post-secondary students enrolled in only online education, the percentage of post-secondary students enrolled in only offline, sorry, I misstated that, offline education fell from 74% in 2012 to 67% in 2017. The number of registered Coursera learners rose from 10 million in 2014 to 38 million in 2018. Udemy had more than 200 million enrollments in more than 100,000 courses in 2018. YouTube users view 4.5 billion hours of how-to videos annually. 59% of Gen V cite YouTube as the preferred learning channel, and 80% of Coursera, approximately 80% of Coursera revenue is derived from business, technology, or data science courses. So that whole e-learning trend is something that I've been talking about for a while, and actually have built an online academy for a client. It's something that's dear to my heart because I do a lot of teaching myself, basically coaching myself for clients, for colleagues and everything. And I see this as a trend that will continue in the future because content is everywhere. Packaging that content in a educational format where you earn credit for absorbing the content is a way to add value to the content you're already creating. So that's one thing. Gaming, I'm a gamer, BL.
I'm not.
Well, you should be now. There were 2.4 billion gamers in 2018. Fortnite is the new hotness in gaming. Fortnite averages, and this is one of the secrets to their success, Fortnite averages one major upgrade a week. So they refresh their content. They create more exciting experiences on the gaming platform once a week, and that's why people are addicted to it. They keep coming back. That's one of the reasons. And it had more than 250 million users in 2018. Gaming has started from console games or the games you played as a kid to online experiences now, and that dynamic is going to filter into everything else. So it's becoming part of the learning environment as well. So paying attention to gaming is an important aspect. Plus, reaching certain audiences, gaming is an excellent way of doing that. And then finally, the other theme is personalization. So 91% of retail customers prefer brands that provide personalized offers or recommendations. 83% of retail customers are willing to passively share data in exchange for personalized experiences, and 74% are willing to actively share data in exchange for personalized experiences. So while there's this concern for data security, data privacy, people also want the customization and the relevance and the convenience of using that data to personalize their experiences online. That's not going to go away. We're going to have to solve the security issue. But people do demand this kind of personalized experiences, will continue to demand it. So that's another thing. And finally, just a plug for my monthly marketing reports roundup. So I finished my marketing reports roundup for May of 303 reports that you can get on my eStrategy Trends blog. And if you want to get that to your inbox, hit me up at david@e-strategyblog.com, and I'll add you to the list.
Well, the thing about personalization is when you give up your data for that, you're making a choice as opposed to having it just being taken for you using the internet. So I can certainly see that trend growing because that's really a form of privatization. In the end effect, you're deciding that your data can be used. I like that trend. So we've talked about deep fakes before, and I think the reason I have this in the good developments of the week is because here's Zuckerberg getting some of his own medicine. This is from a Samantha Cole story in Motherboard, and Facebook had refused to remove a deep fake video of Nancy Pelosi. So two artists and an advertising company made a deep fake of Zuckerberg saying things he never said, and they uploaded it to Instagram, which of course is owned by Facebook. And in it, he says, imagine this for a second. One man with a total control of billions of people's stolen data, all their secrets, their lives, their futures. I owe it all to Spectre. Spectre showed me that whoever controls the data controls the future. Now, Spectra is the art exhibit by the two artists, Bill Post, who's an artist and an activist, and Daniel Howe, who's an artist, and he calls himself a critical technologist, a title I love. So the video was created in partnership with an advertising company called Canny, and it shows Zuckerberg, sitting at a desk giving this sinister speech about Facebook's power, and it's framed with broadcast crayons. They say, we're increasing transparency on ads, and they have that crayon there to make it look like part of a news segment. So it said that it was from CBSN, and CBSN requested that Facebook take down the video because they used their logo, their trademark. So the original real video is from a 2017 address that Zuckerberg gave about it's ironic, about Russian election interference on Facebook. And so the deepfake of Zuckerberg is one of several that this agency did in collaboration with the artists, including one of Kim Kardashian and one of Donald Trump, as part of this art festival that took place during the Sheffield Doc Festival in the UK. And, we've had deep fakes of various kinds for a long time. Photoshop's been around for a couple of decades. People have, made videos not as well as these. But so what's also been around is like our different perceptions of what we see when we look at the same thing. People on the left and people on the right view the same reality differently. And it seems to me this kind of digital alteration is just going to make these divisions worse, because while it's so hard to tell what is real and what is fake, it lets you immerse yourself more into what you really want to see. And I think ultimately that's a very bad trend.
Yeah, and it's the technology is only going to get better for creating deep fakes. It's going to get harder to detect deep fakes. So, in the communications professions, we're going to have to, I've been saying this, we're going to have data forensics, video forensics, photography forensics to identify these fakes if we can. So that we have some defense against them. So
new career path.
Exactly.
For kids. Go ahead.
No. So another bad thing that happens online is extortion. That's been something that we've been hearing more and more of in the past several years, and we heard again this week. Good News Network's McKinley Corbly wrote about Radiohead, the band, the iconic band Radiohead, who were subject of a hacker who stole a bunch of an archive of demos from one of the musicians and demanded $150,000 in ransom, or they would release all of this music online. So Radiohead's response was releasing all of the information online. 18 hours of unreleased demos they released, rather than succumbing to this demand for a ransom from the hacker. They released it on their Bandcamp page. A quote from the article says, "Instead of complaining much or ignoring it, we're releasing all 18 hours on Bandcamp in aid of Extinction Rebellion," which is an environmental group. This was a quote by Radiohead's guitarist and composer Johnny Greenwood. He wrote it on social media. You can find out if you should have paid that ransom.
Well, that was really smart of them to do that way.
Exactly. It's kind of the Jeff Bezos way of dealing with
beat them at the
extortioners,
game.
right? Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's the best way to go about it. So this is really kind of funny. There was actually, I find this very amusing. There was an Ad Age conference on marketing weed. And at that conference, 5 blazingly obvious tips for marketing were offered for cannabis marketing. And Ad Age published some of the tips. So these blazingly obvious tenets are: have affordable prices, but a luxe experience. So Barney's took that to heart, and they opened a cannabis lifestyle shop called The High End on the 5th floor of their Beverly Hills flagship store. And they plan to open them in San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, and New York. And they sell about 40 different ready-to-use cannabis items and high-end accessories like CBD vape pens, rolling papers. The top price is $9,000 for a package of a whole package of accessories. accessories, but the stuff that really flies off the shelf are things like a $60 pipe made of semi-precious stones. And they have, get this, a cannabis concierge who can educate customers about the plant, and someone they can order actual weed from. He's sort of a dealer, actually. The second tip, pot accessories are not just for youth. Duh. The third tip, it's in brands' interest to do things that call out social equality and promote inclusion. Um, oh my. And then personalize, as you were just saying, by matching a customer with a strain of weed they will like. Um, and then the next one is be niche, and it's be smarter than anyone else. And, don't try to be the Amazon of cannabis. So I just thought I'd share that with y'all. I think it's hilarious that there's a department store with a cannabis dealer.
So I was just going to ask, I'd forgive my ignorance. I don't know Barney's brand. Is that its department store?
Barney's is a fancy department store on Madison Avenue, and it's an iconic one that's been part of New York retail for probably 100 years. And it used to have a store downtown. Now it's on Madison Avenue, and it's very fancy. I mean, everything is very fancy. And including
the prices.
Yeah, $9,000 for a couple of pipes and things,
Yeah. But I mean, the cannabis industry is big business now. It's getting bigger and bigger too. The agriculture sites, the trade pubs I follow, I often see training for cannabis agriculture. So they are starting to, the farmers out there are starting to get messages about this is another crop you can grow, given that that's becoming legal in many more states. So
oh, you bet. I was at a CBD book signing last week, and there were, goodie bags that had nice products for your skin, and there were some brownies, but it was all CBD. It wasn't anything that would get you high, but it was just incredible how many companies there are. In this area, and it's just getting bigger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's obvious that it's an industry that is going to be making a lot of money. Anybody who's been paying attention since the 60s or 70s would understand that. So,
That's
anyway.
for sure.
This is a great article. This is from Social Media Examiner's Jessica Melnick, and I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes. It's a great step-by-step instruction for getting started with Data Studio. This is a product that I've talked about before in past episodes. Data Studio is Google's analytics offering. It's a free service that you can pull together a bunch of data from other products like Google Analytics or Google ad campaigns or whatever. You can pull data into and create dashboards, interactive dashboards that tell you how you're doing to track your KPIs and your ROI, etc. But this is just a great Google Data Studio 101 article about how to do it. And the best part about it is not necessarily the step-by-step, but it provides a methodology for deploying the tool. So what you need to think about before you actually start using Data Studio. Decide what you want to measure, create a blueprint, a wireframe for your dashboard before you start, so you know what it's going to look like. And once you get into Data Studio, it's a very sophisticated tool. So if you jump right in with both feet and just play around with it, you'll often get lost and don't have any direction about where you're going or what you want to do. So this is a great article to read in terms of thinking about what you want to do before you actually start doing it. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes.
So I have need of that article. I will definitely read it. I had a message about an issue that my blog had, and I actually did fix it, which I was so proud of myself about. But this stuff just mystifies me, as you well know. So this week, this is from an Ad Age article by E.J. Schultz, and VW has always had very funky advertising, and they have a new campaign that addresses the big issue that they had in 2015 when they had this huge emissions scandal, and their brand was damaged worldwide because it turned out that they had these defeat devices on their vehicles, and it was a way of turning off the emissions during emissions testing, and then after you got out, you got your car approved, then you could let it just start emitting whatever it was going to do. So the brand was really, the reputation as an environmentally conscious company was completely damaged, and it cost them millions of dollars in lawsuits. So instead of the usual formula of apology ads, like used by Wells Fargo and Uber, we're sorry and we're going to do better, VW said, we're working to make things better, but they said, we understand we can't move forward without addressing the past. And so they want the new campaign to clear the air and help them reconnect with customers. And so they got paid God knows how much to use Simon and Garfunkel's Sounds of Silence. Must have cost them a bundle. And it starts, the ad starts with a flashback of news reports of the 2015 scandal when they admitted these defeat devices. And then it transitions to showing designers sketching electric vehicles in this dimly lit room, and he gets frustrated and he looks at drawings of old VW classics, and they're coming out with it's called ID Buzz, which is an electric version of the microbus, and it's going to arrive in 2022. It makes me want to buy a car, to tell you the truth. But the ad ends with the line, "In darkness we found the light, introducing a new era of electric driving." And it shows you the new VW minibus. And, another ad says, "After a bad buzz, here's a better one." And so globally, they've announced that the Volkswagen Group, that includes Audi and Porsche, is going to launch 70 new electric models in the next 10 years, accounting for 22 million battery-powered vehicles. So they owned up to the scandal. They didn't try and sweep it under any rugs. They said, we can only move forward if we admit what we did and show you how we're going to change it. And it was just so straightforward. And I want to see more of that. I just want to see more of that instead of that formulaic, "We're so sorry," the CEO, "We're so sorry, we made a mistake." No. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you they got caught deliberately trying to subvert the regulators.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it was they were deliberately trying to deceive the regulators,
Oh,
and
bad thing.
while proclaiming themselves to be an environmentally friendly company.
Yeah.
So if you were going to overcome that, really, this is the way to do it. I mean, they didn't hide. They up front and center talked about what they did.
Yeah.
So and then pivoted to embracing electric vehicles. So
but they also showed how over the past several years they've been working on the fix. It's just very clever and controversial, because not a lot of brands would do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're in their position, what choice do you have? Kind of, right?
All right.
So this is so that was a rebranding in a sense. This is another rebranding by this is from entrepreneurs Stephen J. Bronner is the reporter on Kraft Heinz is rebranding its ranch dressing by calling it salad frosting.
That's hilarious.
I love it. So the headline for the press release introduced the product or the rebranding by saying Kraft wants you to hashtag lie like a parent. It's Kraft classic ranch dressing disguised in a frosting tube, giving parents a hand in upping their lie game, the release states. So it's basically they're just putting in a new package and calling it salad frosting so that kids will eat it. The writer of this article points out that ranch dressing this is ranch dressing we're talking about. It's the sweet, milky condiment that's 110 calories per 2 tablespoons. It's not by no means health food. So point taken, but still, this is quite clever rebranding. And I checked the hashtag on Twitter. A lot of it are tweets tagged with ad. So it looks like they were paid for tweets. There were some complaining about the brand encouraging parents to lie to their kids. How outrageous.
Of course there's that.
Parents never lie to their kids.
Yeah, really.
So I
The
just thought
tooth fairy isn't real.
I thought this was pretty funny, so I put it in there.
That's great. I love that salad frosting. You could put that on vegetables too.
I eat it now, and I hate ranch.
I hate it too. I mean, it's so gross, really. But I can see why kids would like it if you could get them to eat it. Yeah. So, does that bring us to bad news?
It does indeed.
So this is really sad news. This is from a BBC article on how modern life is transforming our skeletons. And this is from Zaria Gorvet's story. And basically the bottom line here is our heads are getting narrower because we're looking down at our phones and our tablets all the time. And our elbows are getting more narrow too, because I guess we don't move our arms very much when we're sitting in front of our computer. So doctors have noticed that a lot of people have gotten this spiky growth at the back of their head. It's like right where your head meets your neck. I don't have that. I have an indent, but a lot of people have a spike. And they think that it's due to technology and our obsession with it. And it's because we hunch over our phones and we crane our necks and we hold our heads forward. And the reason this is a problem, I didn't know this, the average head weighs 10 pounds, which is basically the size of a large watermelon. So when we lean forward and look at our, dog videos, our necks have to strain to hold our heads up. So doctors call this text neck, and that's a pain that people get. And I'm in physical therapy for my shoulder, and I see people there with text neck. They have this problem in their shoulders and their arms, and it's from being at the computer in a non-ergonomic way. So the spikes form because the posture makes extra pressure on the place where your neck muscles attached to the skull. And what your body does is it actually lays down fresh layers of bone to help you cope with that extra stress. And so David Shahar, who's a health scientist at the University of the Sunshine Coast in Australia, says the spikes are going to keep getting bigger. And so, we have a bit of a problem here. And we may also, I think, have one eye just in the middle of our forehead, because why need two? If all you're going to do is look down at your damn phone all the time when you're walking in the street riding into people.
I literally saw that headline just literally minutes before we went on air, and I got to tell you, I don't believe it. I don't. Oh
yeah, well, you go around, start feeling the back of people's heads.
Yeah, I look down at my phone a lot. I don't have the.
But not everybody gets them. A lot of people do, though.
But I don't believe that it's a problem either, because we're eventually not going to be doing that anymore, because we're not going to be looking at our phones. We're going to be looking at something that's projected in front of us through glasses.
Yeah, so then we'll lean forward,
No,
it's just a natural thing to lean forward.
And it's not called a problem, it's called evolution.
Yeah, well, it's a weird-ass kind of evolution. Dinosaurs had those kind of spikes.
What? Dinosaurs had smartphones?
Yeah, they might have. You never know.
All right. So, no transition. This is from a CNBC article by Kate Fazzini, who excerpts part of her new book in this article called Kingdom of Lies. It's about I don't know the book about it, but the article is about a former Chinese Liberation Army hacker who was inspired by the Russians, of course, to start his own lucrative business stealing sensitive data from tourists. The hacker's name is Bo Chow, and he got a job at a hotel in Shanghai and tricked guests into picking up free USB storage devices, thumb drives, that had malware on them. And when you stuck it in your computer, it installed this malware onto the victim's computers. So it gave him access to business spreadsheets, proprietary lists, whatever's on your computer, obviously. So the cautionary tale here is beware of those thumb drives given away at conferences or at hotels, as the case may be, because they might be full of Chinese malware.
Jeez, that's creepy. That's really creepy. That was my only bad news.
I got some more. I got your back here. I got some more.
Depress us, Dave. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. This is from Axios. The new season of Axios was started running on HBO, and this is a segment from the last episode, which was an interview with Alphabet Sundar Pichai about harmful content on YouTube. In the interview, and we'll embed the video, the segment in the show notes. In the interview, he says the harmful content issue is a hard computer science problem. It's also a hard societal problem because we need better frameworks around what is hate speech, what is not, and how do we as a company make those decisions at scale and get it right without making mistakes. So the problem is defining hate speech. Justice Potter Stewart remarked famously about the problem of defining obscenity by saying, I know it when I see it. And I think that's probably the problem with hate speech as well. It can't be boiled down to an if-then statement that an algorithm can use to identify it. It's probably always going to be dependent upon context. And so how are we expecting the YouTubes, the Twitters, the Facebooks of the world to really solve this problem definitively when we're probably not going to be able to identify definitively, algorithmically, what the harmful content is. So I think it's a problem that we're always going to have, I suspect, and we're going to have to become more literate about identifying what it is individually when we see it. So,
well, that's going to need to start in first grade. I mean, you're really going to have to start that education early, because it's too late by the time you're older and already set in the ways you're doing that. I do have one more, what looks to me like really bad news. There's a little message in the corner of our screen that says Hangouts on Air is going away later this year. For quick streaming, try youtube.com/webcam. What?
It sounds like they're just renaming Hangouts on Air and putting it within YouTube.
Let's hope so.
Makes more sense, actually.
Yes, it does, but that's weird.
Yeah. Well,
so do it as a warning. I mean, it's here as a warning.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, really.
So I got one more. This is a quick one. This is I was at an article on ClickZ, and I loaded it. Looked like, clicked on it, was an interesting title. Was going to read it. Looked away and did something for a couple of seconds. When I looked back at the screen on the article, I couldn't see the article anymore. There was a pop-up. There was a pop-up for do I want notifications whenever ClickZ has a new article directly to my computer? No, I don't want notifications. Will you subscribe to our newsletter? A big pop-up that covered the entire article, and then another pop-up over on top of that pop-up asking if I wanted to take their free micro course on whatever the hell it was. So this 3 pop-ups before I ever got to even read basically the headline of the article. And the irony of it all was it was on an article titled Experiential Marketing, What Makes a Brand Experience Stand Out or Not.
That's very funny. That really is. So does that bring us to shiny objects?
It does. What do you got?
So, well, I practice the Pomodoro method of working. Not all the time, but I try to do it. And what that is that you use a timer to determine what you're going to do for the next 25 minutes. You're not going to look at email, you're not going to check Twitter, you're not going to look at Facebook. You're just going to do, unless that's what you're doing for the next 25 minutes, and you set the timer and you only do that. And then when the timer goes off, and preferably, because it's the Pomodoro method, preferably your timer is a tomato. Then you take a 5-minute break, and you have to get up and leave your computer to take that 5-minute break. And you'd be astounded at how much your productivity goes up when you do that. And it works particularly well when you do it with another person, because then you force each other to take the breaks. And when I do it with a friend, we say, this is what I'm doing for the next 25 minutes, and then you go and do it. And so this is an article about the best Pomodoro method timer apps. And it's from Make Use Of, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. And it just gives you the apps that will, really help you stick to this. And I don't know what your productivity method is, but this is the one that's worked the best for me.
I've never heard of this. But did you say preferably your Pomodoro is a tomato?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
A Pomodoro isn't that Italian for tomato? Your timer that you use is tomato shaped. The one I have is shaped. I'm looking for it. The one I have is shaped like a cow, but there are ones that look like a tomato. Pomodoro is a tomato in another language.
Okay. It's like, what the hell is going on?
At least I think it is.
All right. Well.
Unless it was a guy named Pomodoro, what do I know? I thought it was a tomato.
All right, my shiny thing is something we've talked about before. This is an update. So Uber suggests the keyword research tool is version 4.0 has been released, and the reason I'm mentioning it is they have added BuzzSumo-like content feature to this keyword application. So in addition to keyword research, now when you do keyword research, you can get a content ideas report alongside your keyword research. So you search for a keyword, you get related queries and search data that you normally would get using Uber Suggest. But now you also get a list of links to content that has performed well about that topic for which you entered the keyword. So you'll get not only links, but also the estimated visits to that link, backlinks to that link, Facebook shares, Pinterest pins of that link, and keywords that drove traffic to that particular link. So it's a really good combination of a keyword. That's like BuzzSumo, and best of all, it's all free.
That's what I was going to ask you, because that sounds like it's taking SEMrush one better, and this is free.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not as sophisticated as SEMrush, but yes, it's free, and it's a combination of a keyword research tool and basically BuzzSumo. So yeah, it's nice.
And I'm sure there's a premium one, right?
No,
it's all free. I like that.
This is their way of driving traffic to brand awareness and traffic driver. It's creating a tool that'll drive traffic and links and people talking about like us and linking to it from the show notes and everything. So it's a marketing tool for them.
I like that. I'm going to try that right away. So that brings us to the end of the show. I don't think we have political news today.
No, but we have some pro tips. I got some pro tips here. So
okay.
let's do those first. First of all is I came across a website of a small business person this past week that had a contact form that didn't work because it had a Google reCAPTCHA module on it. And it wasn't configured properly. So it wouldn't send the contents of the form if you submitted if you click submit on the form. What you need for those is an API key and a secret key, and they need to be configured properly. Otherwise, the form contents won't send. So this small business was losing leads because the form wasn't configured properly. So one thing to check if you've got a website that uses that. The other thing I noticed, and I've got this in my notes because I didn't put in the show notes, but I just noticed it before we came in. My Echo Show had a screen that was proclaiming that skills, which is what Echo calls their added functionality. Anybody can build a skill and add it to Echo. So we could build a skill for episodes of the Beyond Social Media show. Echo Show was showing a screen that said skills are like apps for, and I'm not going to say the name of the Amazon smart speaker, so it won't activate everybody's devices. But the skills are like apps for Alexa.
She who must not be named.
She who must not be named. And then Google Home calls their apps actions, Google Actions. So my pro tip is don't reinvent the wheel. Don't call things what they're not. Call things what they are. They're apps. So if Amazon called their skills apps from the beginning, they wouldn't have to have a screen educating people that apps are actually called skills in the Amazon universe. It's so stupid. And you see people do it over and over again. It drives me nuts. So there's your pro tip.
I like that one. Dave, how much does an Echo cost? I mean, an Echo Show.
God. I don't remember how much I paid for it. I think it was like $200. I can't remember. It's probably less than since I bought mine.
Oh, because we're getting my dad an iPad because his is slowed down to nothing. So I thought, gee, maybe what we should have got him was one of those things.
So what you don't want to get him is Amazon Fire tablet.
No, we don't want to
get
their
tablets are crap, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Amazon, but their tablets are crap. So
iPads are great.
Their readers, their Kindles are fantastic, but their tablets are
I have a Kindle, but my iPad died, and they can't be fixed. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Which is annoying. But anyway, that brings us to your stats, eh?
Yeah, as if we haven't had enough stats this week with the Mary Meeker's report, right?
Slides, yeah.
But we'll wrap this up with one that I think is interesting. This is webinar conversion rates. This is from On24, which is a webinar platform based on 22,000 plus webinars with at least 100 attendees. I'm guessing that the majority of those are B2B because that's usually who's using webinars anyway. So it didn't say so, but I suspect that's the case. So anyway, webinar registrant to attendant conversion rates, communications webinars about communications, which is good for us. We should probably do a webinar, have a conversion rate of 67%, which is pretty big. Training webinars have a conversion rate of 45%. Marketing have a conversion rate of 39%, and continuing education have a conversion rate of 31%. So those are some benchmarks, but it kind of makes me want to do a webinar.
Well, we did one quite a long time ago. Remember, we did one about Google Plus.
Yeah.
Right at the start.
A mistake then.
That was not a mistake. That was ahead of its time. Anyway, that brings us to the end of episode 272 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And if you want to find us, just search for Beyond Social Media Show, or tell She Who Should Not Be Named to get it for you, or tell your Echo Show or whatever device you have. And you can find all the links to everything we're discussing tonight at beyondsocialmediashow.com/272. And I am here with David Erickson, who is on Twitter as D Erickson, on Instagram as DE Erickson, on YouTube as eStrategy, and he blogs at e-strategyblog.com. And I highly suggest that you subscribe to his newsletter. I am BL Ochman. I blog at What's Next blog. I am What's Next on Twitter. I am What's Next blog on YouTube. My business site is blochman.com. And the show is beyondsocialmediashow.com. And then you'll find us everywhere else, including Twitter, where we are BS Media Show. And you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Play, anywhere you like to get your podcasts, we'll be there. And we will be back next week, same time, same station. See you then.
Thanks for watching.